Marco, Lyndsay,
Hello.
nice to finally get you on my sofa. Not like that, not like Freud, okay?
Let's go on. That's interesting. that maybe adds to the context of today.
Today we're just speaking predominantly on you, and then we'll talk a little, just so people know who you are, because this is going to be worldwide, and I know you're famous, but I don't know how far you reach. It's just so to give people an introduction.
Oh.
And then ideally, we're going to speak about culture and men and emotions, and how not dealing with emotions for men or articulating them is a big stumbling block in our society and in the masculine energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So,
Okay.
the floor is yours.
Oh yeah, thank you for the famous. That's funny. Infamous, most likely for some people. No, famous is maybe a big word. I am an entrepreneur since 25 years. Started off with some internet companies and created a bunch of internet companies in 20 years' time. Initially, I'm a farmer, and that was my diploma I had till I finally decided to become a professional coach. So the professional coach is my second diploma in my life. But I think I made my diplomas all over the time and all over my life and in life. I'm mainly driven today by raising the energy of people to make them see where they are, where they have the potential to grow into seeing who they really are, really getting aligned with themselves, and ultimately getting aligned between what they do externally with who they are internally, so that they, as I love to say, that they get into an ethical creation loop, where they are not creating for the sake of whoever puts them forward. But I think I get ahead of myself.
No. We're just there's no ahead. It's just as it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So how should we talk about childhood, growing up as a farmer's son, because then we can connect it to how it was for you, and as a energetic, very loving, very connecting. I speak from experience. He likes to hug. So how it was for you growing up, being an emotional, sensitive man, and how that either showed up or didn't show up for you. I just want to turn this a little bit. Yep.
That's a beautiful question, actually.
I'm with you.
I grew up I grew up in two worlds. I grew up in the farmer's world, in a sense, because my father was a farmer, and I was foreseen to take over the farm, and so on. I was groomed for that. On the other side, my mother was a school teacher, so I had this intellectual thing. So as a kid, we were not living on the farm, because we were living in the village where my mother was teacher, which was very relevant for me, because I was always torn apart between being the one who loves to read books and on the other side wants to go and help daddy on the farm.
Okay.
And so I was always torn apart between both of these sides of me. When I grew up, and what didn't help, talking about masculinity, what didn't help was that I was a very short guy, still am. Oh no, I compensate in size, but at that time I was like that. So what didn't so that didn't help, because I was always short. I couldn't do all the work as an 8, 9, 10 year old, because I was just too short. On a farm, it's important.
Okay.
So it all really made that I was not very happy with my masculinity as such. I always felt, and I always had this. So you said about empathic side. I was always the confidant of everybody. So like all the women were talking to me to talk to me about their friends and how they are fed up with them. I wanted to have them, but they won't just talk about their friends.
Okay.
I don't say the words I wanted to say now was on my lips, but we are in an interview, so we
speak freely.
Do you do the beeps afterwards?
I can if you want.
So it was an interesting. It was not pleasure. That's always growing up for me was always living up to my father's expectations, and on the other side, not being able to really acknowledge and not ready to acknowledge my feminine side, which was very powerful. And I was raised by my mother, not by my father. My father was being a farmer, not living on the farm. I saw him on the weekend or on Sundays, because during the week he went out in the morning at 5 and he came in at 8, 9, 10 in the evening. So as a kid you don't see your father. So all that created quite a misalignment with my father model or father role model.
How was your relationship with your father when you speak about your empathetic side and having a very old-fashioned masculine energy? I can imagine farmer, strong, go, no time for emotions, I assume. How was that for you? Was there still a deep connection? Was there ability to connect? Or?
Well, I can bring that to one phrase. I hugged my father the first time 3 years ago.
The first time in your whole life?
Yes. So that actually answers your question.
Okay.
But that's it was an interesting thing to go through, because him never being there made me also grow into a very protective man, because I felt very responsible for my mother, for my sister. So it created another side. So it compensated on another side, which was interesting. So actually, at one moment in time on my journey, I had to let go of the fact that I am the responsible for how my mother feels, because I took on that responsibility. It's like it really went into different things, different logics. Yes.
And how did it feel for you not being able to be emotionally connected to your father? I think that's what society is struggling with now, right? When we don't know how to be emotionally connected, we're not taught from childhood that deep emotional connection with the man in our life is our father, firstly, right? Generally. And when we don't get that manly emotion, like how we hug, when you don't get that as a child, you always have this inability to connect with it. Did that show up for you?
You know, as a child, you don't see that. Huh? I was missing this connection. I know today that one of my most important drives or longings in life is deep connection. And that was something I didn't have, so I was missing it, but I didn't know. So over time, it evolved. It evolved actually into a logic where I was longing for a relationship with women and so on, because I was longing for this deep connection, which I didn't have as a child, neither with my mother nor with my father. But that's another story. So there were other reasons for that. But it was like that. We were very close, but very far apart. And there's a lot of, and that is what I'm telling here is not so much a special story. I think it's a story of a lot of people.
I agree.
Most of the people just don't want to see it, because if they see it, it hurts.
Yes.
And it hurt much to get over it. I will not lie to anybody saying this is a walk in the park. It is so worth it, because getting aware of it and accepting what is, because I cannot change anything on what happened, and accepting it is creating freedom. It's amazing freedom.
What's happened? Why would
All
it switch
good,
off?
all good.
Okay. Yes, so you say it brought you freedom when you learned to accept that you didn't get that deep connection with your parents. Is that
No,
right?
the freedom comes when you start to accept. No, the freedom comes when I started to accept that, and everything which was on my way was exactly to be there and was good and was helping me to become who I am today, and I'm very happy who I am today. So I needed to go through this acceptance, and it's not like a negative thing. It's just through this acceptance, I can access my own freedom, freedom of expression.
And did you hold anything against your parents for any period in your life where, when you realized this is what you needed and this is what you didn't get, was there any resentment or anger or disappointment that you lived with for any period or not?
My whole life. Till, I don't know, I really started to access the freedom of this. It's a process, very hard to say exactly when it started, but to answer the first part of the question, yes, when I left the farm I went into 10 years of war with my father, which was very, let's say, it was not a funny thing to live through, and it took really time to heal myself, and through constantly working on healing myself, I somehow also gave him the opportunity to heal himself, and my mother to heal herself, and that's beautiful because they both walk their path now, and I can today with very big honor and pleasure and proudly say my father is a very good friend of mine,
so
with whom I have a lot of contact, and he still is one of my biggest triggers, so one of my biggest teachers.
Okay.
But that's great because that's what I need. So
yes.
If I still get triggered by it, means that I have to work, that I want to work on it, because my goal is to grow as a being.
Okay. And so if we tie up, so I can resonate with what you said in terms of being close but being far apart. And I didn't have my mother growing up. I always had a need for the children, as children do. But I had my father, but he was a great man. He did a lot for me. But you had that emotional side that wasn't able to plug in to the parent. So I understand fully what you said. And when you said it's not an uncommon thing, I had to agree. Where you're close, but you're far apart at the same time. But then how do we tie that up with society now in terms of we're in a time where men are, one of the highest suicide rates in the world is because of men, is through men, right? Mm-hmm. Men are struggling with loneliness, isolation. Yeah. How can we bring awareness to that, or how do you connect that to your journey? And were there moments where you felt like this is challenging?
You bet. There were very, very tough moments. There were moments of intense helplessness, which I felt, and well, I can talk about a lot, but I don't want to go into all the stories. How can we bring this to what happens today with men? I think what happens with men today is that they are crushed between two forced upon views of world. Mm-hmm. The one is the one they're growing up with, which is you have to be the strong man.
Yeah.
You have to provide, and you are the man. You no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the other side is that as a man today, you don't have the right to express yourself anymore, because it is extremely risky to do so.
Yeah.
So now it's a very, very sensitive topic to talk about that, because talk about the Me Too movement and so on. So I respect every woman who gets up and speaks her truth about what happened to her, and that's beautiful. And that's absolutely necessary. I just want to point out that there is, through all the men in this world who, these are the absolute majority, they are not the predator, they are not hunting, and they are suppressed in their masculinity.
So great.
And they are getting more and more suppressed in their masculinity. And so it is important for men to be able to express their emotions, and it's important for any human being and any being to express their emotions. It's important for men to do it, and I love this interview because I think there are women's circles which are extremely important. I had the pleasure, as I have a big feminine side, I had the pleasure even being part of some of them sometimes. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and I think that there are brotherhoods. There are men's circles which are necessary, where men can share, where men can openly share and openly live and their emotions. And here it's not about the Fight Club. It's not about let's get it on. It's about creating a safe space where men just can talk about how they feel useless, how they feel that they didn't provide, how they feel. Doesn't mean that they are useless, doesn't mean that they didn't provide, but these feelings of that pressure which is building up and which has no exit.
Yes.
And that's the problem. The problem is there are no exits anymore. Because
why do you feel that is? Well, what is blocking all these opportunities to speak up, to express, to say how they feel?
It's the framework. It's the framework most of men are in. It's a framework. It's like I decided a long time ago that I don't care what people think about me when I speak up about what I have to speak about. So I speak my truth. As when it comes about me, actually, it could be an interesting topic for discussion. But when it comes about me, I really can. I'm an open book. I can share, and I can be as vulnerable as I don't care.
Yeah.
So that's a decision I took out of pain of not getting rid of my emotions or couldn't express my emotions. Most men are not doing that. Most men are stuck in keeping that bottled up.
Yeah.
And they bottle it up. And why are they bottling it up? Because they have no outlet. It's like there's no real outlet. I said I don't see an outlet on a mass scale. That was like go back in time. 50 years ago it was like Sunday morning after mass or before service or during service going to the pub.
Oh wow! Okay.
As kids, as my parents, my grandparents, as men, and then they had their outlet.
Okay.
It's like we are more and more not getting social anymore, more and more not letting out anymore our emotions. We are not doing it anymore, and I think that's one of the big challenges of our time.
And how do we overcome that? What do we do about that? How do we change that? Because I think now we know the statistics, the relationships. We know that the problem is there. There's no more need to uncover the problem. It's evident. It's now a time to find solutions. And how can we what solutions are there for this kind of path that we headed down that is not serving men?
The answer is manifold. For me, everything starts with awareness, or I even say before awareness comes witnessing. It's like we are in this, I call it the loop of reaction, so we are in the doing all the time.
Yeah.
And especially men are in this doing. I have to do, I have to react to others all the time, I have to have the control, and they are in this loop. And what happens very often are these moments of grace where something terrible is happening in life, where there's a crack in that construct, which lets shine the light in. And what has to happen there is that people get aware and take it, and they go into what I call the loop of awareness. So they start to think about who they are, and really start that journey. And it is a tough journey. It is not. It's for everybody different. I'm a child of personal development gurus, and today I say personal development as it was done the last 20 or last 30 years is revolute, because it's about finding your own solutions in your own environment with tools, and with using gratitude rituals, using meditation, using different ways of how you can deepen the knowledge of yourself, and then doing it. So I always call it like it's an ever-growing onion. It's like you have a layer, you go through the first layer, you peel it, go to the next layer, you peel it, and you think you get at the end, oop, it's growing again. It's beautiful. For the longest time, I always thought the next seminar will fix me. After the next seminar, I will be enlightened. And what happened is that after the next seminar, I had a next layer going off, and then the next one was coming. And that's great. Today, I love the journey. Being on the journey is the most beautiful thing.
So, just to bring awareness to you, yes. You are Tony Robbins' protege, right? So you've attended a few Tony Robbins powerful workshops, but it's not about the workshops, it's about falling in love with because if you don't love the journey, then you can do all the personal development workshops, right? And all you'll ever do is divert from actually dealing with these emotional blockages that we all face. Is that okay to say that, or?
Yeah, I would be more fatalist in this one. I would say the journey is our life sentence. There's nothing else. The journey is there for everybody. We either walk our life journey consciously, where we are aware of who we are, or we are just letting it walk for us, which most of the people are doing. So the journey is something which happens to everybody. Everybody walks this journey, and it's like I talk to these people which I like to call like the entrepreneurs of life. One of them. It's like in this cycle of I am successful, and then I fall down again, and then I get all messed up, but then I get out of it, and I get up, and then I fell down. It's like people are in this cycle, because they're not letting this awareness in who they are, not really looking where this is coming from. And there is an answer I have the answer for myself, why I was in this cycle. But you have yours, and this one has, and you have yours. Everybody has his own answer to that. So there is no personal development who can really give you the answer. The only thing which is out there are tools, as said, which are really great. Being aware of your own values and the alignment of your values. Like if you have freedom as your top value and family as your second value, well, you will have a challenge, because your wife will tell you, well, you're not going next week to do kite surfing, because we have 3 kids. That's like, okay, now, if you get aware of this kind of tools, that allows you to walk your journey more consciously. But at the end, it's all about being aware of yourself.
And you feel that's the biggest challenge we face. We speaking to men, but I think it applies to everybody. It's that we don't know who we are, and we're trying to go through this life sentence called this journey of the life sentence without knowing who we are, and that's where we stumble. And is that what you're saying?
Yes. I think we are the product of external influences, of external frameworks which were put on us between 1 and 6. That's where our basic programming was done. Then we add through our puberty, through getting a man. Talking about man, I myself talked about that. But it's interesting because I was always the confident of women till somewhere around 13, 14 years old. I said that's not manly enough, and I stopped it. I stopped being empathic with people.
You shut it off.
I shut it off. I that's not manly. So I decided not to do that anymore. Actually, I only do that again since 2 or 3 years, because I really decided that's part of me. I love it. I love to be in contact. As I said, one of my most important parts is being in deep connection. So I love that. But I shut it off for 40 years in my life.
Because you felt that in society that empathy wasn't something that a man should be carrying.
Absolutely. Hey, we're a man. We're not listening to this whining lady.
Wow.
Why should we? We have to show her the way. Not listening.
What does that do for you then? It's you shutting off a life source, right? Because that is it's you. And when you tell yourself, I can't feel, I shouldn't feel for others, you're blocking your energy flow, right?
Absolutely.
And that creates an internal conflict.
Absolutely.
So you have a conflict with the world because the world is saying that's not manly.
Yes.
But then you try to be manly in accordance with the world's idea of manly.
Yeah.
But what you do is you cause an internal conflict.
Yeah.
How do you live with that?
Well, not anymore, fortunately.
How did you live with that? It must be, I'm speaking directly to you, but I empathize with you 100%. Mm-hmm. I know where you are, but it's your show. It's your platform.
It's your show.
It's our show.
How did I live with it? I wasn't aware of it, so I could live with it. But it was shutting me down slowly. It was killing me emotionally, totally. It's like being able today, and that's one of my onion levels to peel, layers to peel. It's really to let my emotions be. I always say I am a more angry man today than I was 4 years ago. I'm so happy about that.
You're more angry now than 4 years ago.
Yes.
But you're more enlightened now than 4 years ago.
Yes.
So why are you more angry now?
Because anger is part of me, part of you, and I let it out for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and that's gone.
Mm-hmm,
I'm not bottling it up anymore. Before I was the good man, the good guy, the good guy, the good guy, the good guy, and then imagine the volcanoes, like the pressure counts.
Yeah.
And when it exploded, you cannot imagine that this face can be so angry and so violent than it could be, and I was, because I was bottling it up all the time, and now it's like okay, it's like, and through the fact to accept my emotions, I would say all of the times, that would be beautiful. Most of the times, I get into a situation where there are no outbursts anymore. There is an anger. Okay, I'm angry now. Fine. Good. 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, so okay, I was angry. Fine. But it's not a problem.
Great.
Because emotions are not a problem. That's one of those things which really is a big learning for me in the last few months actually, is that our emotions, every emotion has its right to be, because it's a fact. If you feel anger, then that's a fact. So suppressing it is putting it up. So you're just creating a stagnant energy in your body.
Yes.
What were we saying?
We had a small break, sorry, in case there's a beep, but so how do we support men? Let's go this way now. Let's go into what can men do for men in terms of what we're struggling with in our inability to articulate our emotions, to feel what we feel, to speak about what we feel. What would you have needed? What do you feel now, with hindsight, in that period of your life, would you have needed from outside to make you connect back to your empathy, your empathetic side? Is there anything you can connect to?
Yeah, it's interesting. What happened to me was that I was looking for that connection, so I was always looking for surrogate fathers, and so a lot of people, a lot of men with who I was working or so on became my surrogate father. So there was one man who was actually, how old was I, maybe 21, 22. He still is, but he was in acupuncture, it's like a kinesist therapist, and doing acupuncture. And I was going to see him. Actually, that was the beginning of my conscious journey. It was not as conscious as it could have been at that time, but it was the beginning because I had this chronic disease, which a friend of mine said, no problem, you just go see my acupuncture guy, he handles. And I said, yeah, you're mumbo jumbo, you can forget that, I will not go there. Took a year, and after a year I said, okay, give me the address, I don't care anymore. So I'm fed up of eating antibiotics all the time. And so I went to them and to him, and he was actually the first man who showed me that strength is not negative, that strength is beautiful. He was the first man who showed me that respect is beautiful, that it, and he's still actually one of my best friends still today. It was really beautiful, and he actually, what he did, just as a little bit an anecdote, I didn't, oh yeah, we don't see that in English, we cannot talk about that, but I didn't personally talk to him like in a personal way till very like 5, 7, 10 years ago, because he always created this distance because he wanted to have this distance. He wanted to give me the space. He didn't want to go into this surrogate stuff.
Okay.
And then we talk about it. We had it, and it's so yes. So that's what I could have. So could get. What does a man, or what do men need today? They need somebody they can talk to. They need somebody who is listening. They need somebody who is understanding. It's just like, I was not coming here to talk about that, but I organize these campfire exchange sessions where we organize on Zoom 2 hours where people show up, and with their topic of the day we align one topic.
I didn't know about that, and that's very powerful.
Yes.
But when
we do that.
Yeah.
We do that.
Okay.
And it's amazing what you can hear about there, how easy it is for men to open up. Now, not everybody comes here, so the ones who didn't have the cracks yet, I talked about before, they will not show up. But for the ones who got the cracks, they love it because they are among people they can talk to. We create a safe space, so we have our own phrase, which somehow is like what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. So it's like this kind of a phrase we read and we acknowledge everybody. And through that we create this safe space, and I think we need these safe spaces.
Is this in Luxembourgish?
That's in English right now.
In English. Okay, I'm just for those who are listening, and if anybody wants to join, I'm going to put some details after this at the bottom of the video, some links to information on the campfires, and I would love to for people to come and join and speak. I will join. I didn't know about that. He's keeping secrets. It's not very good, no? We're supposed to be friends.
People say that I'm a good salesperson, but I don't think so.
Well, you're going to throw that in afterwards as a pitch.
No, absolutely not.
That's a really great thing, though.
But it's it's really important that you talk, because through that talking, especially when it's like this, the 6 to 8 persons max. It's like it's a small group, and people just that they get feedback. Like how was it for you? Oh yeah, I had that. Oh great. Oh yeah, that's interesting. That speaks to me. I had this man who literally didn't see any persons physically the last 2 months. It's like
it's crazy.
Yeah, crazy stuff. It's like that's what people do. Men need to hug. I think we both should. One day, COVID over, we put ourselves in the city of Luxembourg and we hug every man coming by.
I will do that. I think
we have to do that.
Do that.
Well, we will not do it now because it's a little bit.
You might get arrested.
Maybe we just sanitize everything.
You know what's so sad is that yes, we're trying to control one pandemic, but we have another pandemic in us men growing that nobody's paying that, and people are. It's growing, but we still need to take care of it because our masculinity is getting suppressed and watered down, and we need it.
We actually, most of it, we are watering it down ourselves. So I would really not put it on anybody what is happening.
Okay.
For me, it's very important to say that. It's like I would not say women are watering down men. No, women are just women, and they have their challenges to tackle, and we have ours. What is, and in any case, I think, for human beings, is that we the self-restraining, which is the challenge. So we are self-restraining ourselves from feeling that. I don't have the right to feel angry.
And I'll come back to this is where we kind of had a small break. You were talking about 4 years ago, before you started your spiritual journey. Now you're more angry because you're allowing yourself to feel. Yeah. Whereas before you were suppressing your anger because you felt that you shouldn't feel angry. Yeah. But then what was being created was you're putting a cap on the volcano. Yeah. So when the anger did come out, it came out unhealthily, and it was triggered. So it was like an explosion rather than a controlled, let it dissipate through your body, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And that explains for me, it's explainable through what I saw. So I saw a lot of anger. So I was never in a physically abusive environment, but I was in a psychologically abusive environment, in the sense that I saw an incredible, powerful, ferocious anger, and I saw how destructive it is to others. I didn't see that it was destructive to me. It was too, but I didn't see that. What I saw is like how other people were suffering about it. And so I said, and so that was my father. Now, I'm his son, so I always said, I don't have to become like that. So I bottled it up.
So
I bottled it up. So I bottled up my anger because, and I tell you, when it came out, it didn't come out very often. Yeah. When it came out, there was almost killings. Huh? So literally, because it was almost unstoppable, black in front of my eyes, and then it's like nobody could stop me. Then it doesn't matter how small or big you are. So it's like you want respect, do that. Then you get respect for the ones. It's like, but that's maybe not the respect you really want in your life. But what to say is I really got this example of what that can do to people, and that's why I bottled it up for myself. It's why my self-restraining. Nobody told me. Nobody said to me, "Your father was like that. You have to be careful about it." No, but that's how it happens. And as we are in a society where we are talking about so many of these things, it's like, we are anyhow in very ambiguous topics. But let's take. It's like, I would not love to be a cop in the US right now. 99% of the US cops are good cops. And there is 1% which are really pricks. Unfortunately, one of them got sent to jail yesterday. But if everybody says all the time, you don't have to do, it's like, you're bottling it up. Yeah. And that's what our society does wrong. It's like we are not letting conversation anymore happen. Same for the whole COVID stuff. It's like if you're not agreeing with the mainstream,
then something wrong with you.
Then you're bad. I can go down this rabbit hole now, but I will not. But just to say, we don't allow this kind of conversations anymore. So as a society, we have to go back to communicating, accepting that somebody says something I'm not happy about. I'm so happy when somebody says something I'm not happy about, rather than he does something I'm not happy about.
At least you talked before.
So it's like somebody talks about his fantasies of anger and of violence. That's great. Let him talk about it, and give him the outlet of talking about it, rather than giving him. Telling him, oh no, you should never think like that. How can you think like that? Imagine, you're a bad man. So you associate your thoughts with bad man. Then you see on TV somebody grabbing guns and going into school, and you're creating that. So I'm not saying that everybody has his own responsibility for what he does. So not don't get me wrong, but there is these influences are a factor in these challenges we are facing in society. Now, we can think about and talk about strategies, how we can change our narrative as a society and so on. And I'm not a believer in that. I think it's something which has to happen.
Okay.
But I think it cannot happen before we all ask ourselves the questions of inside. Who am I truly? How aligned am I with myself? How aligned is my doing with my being? And if I go down that road, and if I look into that, and if we would, as human beings, collectively do that, then anyhow these conversations will come.
Yeah.
They will come out of the kindness we are creating, out of the gratitude we're having, out of the self-compassion. Because if you go from, as I said before, from doing to being, in the being space, you get aware of things, and you're starting to accept what is.
Yeah.
The challenge there is that if you're not developing self-compassion and self-love, you will go back to doing.
Absolutely.
You will go back to the loop of reaction, because in the loop of awareness, it's way too heavy, it hurts too much to see how hurtful you are yourself. To see it, to be aware of it. So you creating self-compassion, creating self-love is key. Once that's done, all the rest will unfold automatically.
Healthily as well.
Healthily. And then, yes, somebody who works on himself can be angry, and he should be. There are things in life we have to be angry about. It's not like, it's like, let's go sit on the mountain and meditate. Every Buddhist teacher who is worth the title teacher will tell you that all emotions are valid. All emotion have to be lived, have to be exteriorized.
And so, if we had to say, based on what you just said, to give support, this is a societal thing, but to give support to men, it's important to feel and not judge your feelings.
Yes.
No judgment of feelings, right?
Yeah.
Because you will have pain, you will have anger, you will have regret, but it's important to acknowledge them without judgment, and then find a place where you can talk about them.
Absolutely. The biggest challenge we're facing is, as it's not man, it's everybody. It's like as soon as we're getting aware, we're starting self-judgment. So as soon as we're getting aware, we say, "Oh, I could have done this.
I could have,
I didn't." That's a big layer of onion to peel. And I think it's an onion which we peel several times at different layers again.
Yes,
But the self-judgment is probably the most destructive, because it always gets us
back into that loop.
And then again asking ourselves, okay, should I really do? No, this is all too much. I go back to doing. Let me just go to react to others. It's so much easier. Then I can be in my drama, I react to others. I can take control, even so I'm not getting it. I'm striving for control.
But the thing with the doing is that it only compounds, right? And it's inevitable that something will break within you.
It's breaking, and then that is so. You don't see the breakings always. It's like most of the people break very silently. You don't see nothing happens. But they just stop feeling joy. They just stop. They just are in the loop. There's nothing happening anymore in their life. They are dead before the death. It's like emotionally they're dead. And that's where actually happens the disasters. That's where people need the thrills. That's where people need to get into something totally crazy, to feel something. Look at how many people, and I'm not judging everybody who's jumping a bridge or doing skydiving, but look at how many people just need the thrill to even feel something. It's beautiful. do that, but also feel the
feel
little thing.
Yeah. Don't need that to feel.
Feel how the glass of water is rinsing down your body into your stomach. Think about it. Sit there and feel that. Feel how your body is reacting on different foods. Feel how a sentence of somebody saying to you is making you react in your body.
Absolutely.
Feel that. It's beautiful. And that teaches us so much. And then go bungee jumping if you want to. But don't take this one as the only way to get into feelings.
I like that. That's really, and that's part of the coaching, learning how to connect to the body again. Because we disconnect. We have society telling us to think, how to fit in, how to be, and we disconnect from how we're actually feeling, and that's where the biggest conflict is created, right?
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Let me think. Let me ask. Great.
Marco, I'm very proud that you're doing those campfires. You never told me that, and we'll talk about it after.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that there's, between us at least, creating some safe space for people, men, to come. Is it for men predominantly, or anybody?
Well, right now we just do it free and we're testing it.
Okay.
But the idea is to do it in the topics which are worthwhile or interesting. And we talked about man circles. Actually, I do this together with Jess Maduro. So it's a very, very good guy.
Okay.
I met, and he actually came up with the name and did something similar. For me, it's group coaching.
Okay.
For him, it's beyond, because it's not a coach.
Okay.
And he did it in man circles in Canada. And so he's from Toronto, and so he did it in man circles and so on. So they did sweat lodges and all the stuff. So but I think that's very powerful. Oh, right now we do it in Zoom. Huh? We do sweat lodges again, but I think it's not really. It's like, okay, we'll not do that.
Okay.
Till we have the right to do.
Soon, I hope.
Yeah.
You've been very open and very vulnerable. I'd love to know more, but we'll save some for later.
Cool. Because
there's a lot here that you and I can talk until the cows come home.
Yes, I know.
But just to any men who, I know we suppress a lot, but to any men who are struggling, if there's anything you need, reach out. And like Marco was saying, become aware of what it is you're feeling, and don't judge those feelings. Feel them, and a healthy expression is better than no expression, right?
Yeah.
Because it will express itself one way or another.
Yeah.
And if we can ever support, I will give details of Marco's campfire. What's it called? Sweat trousers.
Campfire exchange.
Campfire exchange, and please let's start talking. At least, if nothing else.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. It's for me, it's some kind of an accomplishment to talk about this stuff today so openly, because it's something I was not always able to. So thank you for making me aware that I can do that these days.
Oh, you volunteered. Can I give you a hug?
Go on.
Oh, yes. Good man. Thank you. Thanks for watching, everybody.